good sign when people aren't fired up about something.
I'm getting the eye from somebody who's telling me it's time.
Oh, really? Yeah. I think it's time too. Good afternoon again, everyone. Or good morning, still morning. Good morning. I call our annual meeting to order. And it is a joy to be together to conduct some of the business of the church and to celebrate so many good things that are happening here. And as we begin all good things, let's begin with prayer. The Lord be with you. Let us pray. Almighty and ever-living God, ruler of all things in heaven and earth, hear our prayers for this parish family. Strengthen the faithful, arouse the careless, and restore the penitent. Grant us all things necessary for our common life, and bring all of us to be of one heart and mind within your holy church, through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen. And now we continue. The agenda, by the way, is on page 2 in the annual meeting journal. We continue with the review and approval of minutes from our 2024 meeting. So I hand it over to our registrar, Bob Brennan.
And preliminarily, I make a motion to waive the reading of the minutes. Second. All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed?
No further discussion.
Okay. Mr. Brooks?
Good morning. Now, just note to self, I am not Ned Worthington, but I've been asked to present the treasurer's report. Ned is out of town at a baptism, so a joyous occasion. Tom, another baptism. So what I'd like to do this morning is to present the treasurer's report, and then we've got a little bit of housekeeping, and then I'm going to present the Finance and Investment Committee report. And as always, I'm happy to take questions at the end of this. At each report. Yes, a little louder, yes, sorry. Okay, I'll stay on the mic, thank you, dear. So first of all, on page 23 of the annual report is Ned's treasurer's report, and I'm just delighted to announce that we had a surplus last year, and we're a non-profit, so we can't really have a profit, we might have a surplus. But we had a surplus of a little over $31,000, and I would say that is just terrific. That I would suggest demonstrates good oversight by the vestry and good operating controls and a really nice job by the treasurer's office and the staff at the church. So that's terrific. And I also would say, and I'm sure there'll be more about this later, but all of this has been enabled by just a wonderful stewardship effort led by Amy Sussman. So I'd like to just jump right in on that. Terrific. You will note that the operating budget for 2025 is a little over $205,000, and that's up about 1% from last year's budget. So I think that demonstrates good cost controls, and I congratulate Ned and the team for that. Okay.
It just needs to be loud for recording.
Right. Keep going. Got it. Okay, there we go. Roll that around. Thank you very much. Okay. There we go. Thank you. Takes a village. So I'll just wait. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, John. Terrific. You all might know that the budget is really driven by two primary sources of income. One is the pledging process, and the other is the draw from the endowment. And with my Finance and Investment Committee hat on, I'm delighted that the vestry continues to show good judgment and restraint and discipline around this process. And so the draw for 2025 from the endowment will be 4.5%, and that's made up of 3.25% for operating monies, as well as 1.25% for the capital expenditure budget. And you all might know that staying under 5% of a draw is a pretty good thing to do, and demonstrates good stewardship and care for the endowment. And I think from the Finance and Investment Committee's perspective, we're particularly impressed by that and excited about that. So these are prudent numbers. The CapEx for cemetery and the North Cemetery Unification Project, sewer line extension, Sexton's house renovation, all that's sort of on the horizon, and this draw from the endowment to fund some of that capital expenditure will help with that. And you might see visible example of what the capital expenditures do when they're used by looking at the new roof on the church, and that's really an example of what those monies are used for. So that is the report. There's lots of information in the annual report, all our balance sheet and financial reports, cash flow statements, and things like that. And before I take any questions on the budget, I do want to make sure that I most formally welcome Brian Light as our new treasurer, and Brian will take over probably tomorrow, I would guess. So it could be this afternoon, but I'm also pleased to say that he and Ned and the Vestry and Finance and Investment Committee have been working together for the past year, and Ned is staying on another year, I think, as an assistant treasurer, just to make sure there's a smooth transition. And for you all that haven't met Brian, he's a very talented guy and very well respected, and he's actually done this job at another church, so he comes with experience, and we're just absolutely delighted to have him in that role. So thank you, Brian. Okay, any questions on the treasurer's report? Okay, hearing none, I'd like to turn to page 24 for the Finance and Investment Committee report. And I would say that from the FIC perspective, FIC is our little acronym, 2024 was a solid year for the endowment. We had a positive 13.16% return. And in light of an inflationary period, and from what I've been able to tell from other endowments, we did a pretty good job last year. I saw one stat from a consultancy that said that anything north of 11% puts you in that sort of the top third of endowment performance for endowments under $50 million. Now, as we described in my letter, you know, the S&P last year was pretty strong, up about 25%, but as you probably have read, a pretty narrow market. So really driven by the Magnificent Seven. Think about Google and Amazon and Microsoft and NVIDIA. And we certainly have some exposure to those names, but we don't have nearly the weightings or the heaviness of exposure that the S&P 500 does. So one of the things the committee has tried to do and in our oversight role, and you all might know that T. Rowe Price manages St. Thomas's endowment, but is just to pay attention to the diversification that we have. And we have exposure to these big mega caps, but it's not as heavy as the market. So we think when there's a downdraft, maybe we'll do a little bit better, and there will inevitably be a downdraft. I'm delighted when I look at the portfolio. There are over 50 equity positions in companies that we own, and these are really high-quality, growth-oriented companies that are well-run with strong balance sheets, and so we think that puts us in a pretty good position over time. You'll see some description of our asset allocation. It's approximately 74% in equities, 21% in fixed income, and about 5% in cash. Our fixed income did a little better than the indices, our benchmarks last year, and our underweighting in international stocks helped us as well. But we certainly underperformed the broader averages in equities due to our higher diversified sort of portfolio. Longer-term performance, I would point out, continues to remain very favorable. Our compounded rates of return and overall performance are good numbers relative to benchmarks, so we're pleased about that. You know, I think that we've been blessed really with a terrific committee. We meet a few times a year, and there's frank and challenging conversations about allocations and how we're doing things, and it's always done without contention, which I really like. But I want to give a shout out to the committee, Jay Acker, Betsy Brennan, Anna Smith, Ted Waters, and Ed Worthington. They're great to work with, and I'm honored to be part of it. So, and as well, the Reverend Tom Murphy's always terrific in our discussions, and Jane and the vestry have been very supportive. So we're in pretty good shape there. Any questions on the Finance and Investment Committee side? Okay, this is an easy crowd. Terrific. Thank you very much.
Paul Corbin and Kathy Resnick, a report on the preschool.
Unaccustomed as I am. Usually.
I shall. Hello, everyone. I am not Nicole. I am Kathy Resnick, and Paul is behind me. He's going to talk about money. I don't like to talk about money unless it's me spending it at Joann Fabric, so I'll let him go into all of that. Once again, I am absolutely honored to be the preschool board chair. It's just a wonderful, wonderful mission of the church. I'm going to be very brief and tell you the good things that have happened this year, some of our challenges, and some future events. First of all, you all know that the preschool is an outgrowth of the church programs here and one of its missions. We are a member of the National Association of Episcopal Schools, and this year we did a few word tweaks on some of our brochures. We wanted to make it very clear that our preschool is an Episcopal affiliated preschool, that we are under the auspices of the church. And so we did a little word tweaking in some of the brochures. And also, I think the vestry has either completed or is still working on Article 8 of their bylaws. The preschool was mentioned as being owned by the church, and the vestry, I think, is changing that to be under the auspices of the church. We wanted to get rid of the word owned. One of the things that I think is sort of interesting is that when Nicole gives tours of the preschool, she is very frequently asked, how religious is your preschool? And she makes it very clear that, yes, we do have chapel, but we talk about being kind and loving, that sort of thing in chapel. Tom has mentioned that he is seeing more parents start to attend chapel with the children, which I think is wonderful. I have to tell you a quick little funny story. I have 3 grandsons that live in the area, and they go to St. John's Episcopal Church, and their preschool goes up to about 5th grade, and they have chapel once a week, whereas here I believe it's once a month right now. So I was over there the other day, and I said, oh, tell me what you have learned in chapel. And they said, well, they're 9, 5, and 3, and they said, oh, we're supposed to go and pee. And I'm like, what? What are you talking about? And they said, yeah, at the end of every chapel, Reverend Sue says, we're supposed to go and pee. And I said, I believe the phrase is go in peace. So make sure that is perfectly clear when you talk to the preschoolers. Yeah, that was my ha-ha of the day. I wanted to compliment the teachers once again. They have all completed the basic health and safety courses. And again, that's not common at all preschools. And they have completed 12 professional development courses, every single one of them. We have had a couple of board resignations. You know, we had a couple people that had to leave, but we did add Annette Brown rather recently. I don't know if she's here. And we're getting ready. Oh, there she is. Yay, Annette. We're going to be adding 2 more people to help Paul with finances, and he'll talk about all of that. Our extended and day summer programs have done very well. Right now, we currently have 50 students across 5 classes. I do want to talk a little bit about this year. We were really down in our kindergarten enrollment. And Paul will, again, kind of talk about that. We need to keep our kindergarten enrollment at capacity. It has really impacted the preschool financially. Next year, fortunately, we are, looks like we will be filled. I think we have maybe 2 slots left, 1 slot left. What, she enrolled another one on Friday? So that's great. We have 51 enrolled for next year, and we have currently maybe, I guess, 6 spaces left now. There are a couple of reasons why the kindergarten enrollment was down this year, but one thing I think it's something we're going to have to always kind of keep our eye on. We are finding that parents are sort of saving their money for the other end of the line. They're putting their children in schools where they can go all the way through. If the school starts in kindergarten and goes all the way through, that's kind of where they've been enrolling them. And if they're going to be paying tuition, we're also finding that they want to kind of save up their money till sort of the high school level. So I think kindergarten is going to be something we have to keep an eye on. Yes, ma'am. Well, it varies depending on how many days per week, that the kids come. I do have a chart here. I'll just give you some examples. Now, keep in mind that Nicole did a very extensive study and looked at how we compared to other preschools in the area, and we are very competitive. I mean, we are not, higher than other people. In fact, we may be lower. And again, that's a good question for Paul.
I think we're too competitive.
Paul's like, let's raise it, let's raise it. But for example, if you were a 3-year-old and you were coming, let's say 5 days a week for a 2-year-old, would be around $7,200. I know next year the kindergarten, because I asked Nicole specifically what would the kindergarten tuition be for next year, and it's going to be $10,300. But again, that is a very competitive number. I know money is tight for everybody these days. I just wanted to also point out that we do maintain a copy of all of our meeting agendas, our meeting minutes, Nicole's report, treasurer's report, all of that we maintain here in the church office. So for every month that we meet. So if you ever wanted to go in and, look that over, that is available. A couple of upcoming events. Of course, we've talked about the spring fling. We would love to have people contribute basket donations. I have to compliment some of the ladies in the crafter group have really been very supportive of the preschool. We have made bean bags, for the kids. We just put together a auction basket that the preschool will be auctioning. I would love to see, if you're interested, one basket I would love to see for auction is 10 books that every child entering kindergarten should hear before they enter kindergarten. There is a list if you're interested. I think that would be a big seller. But anyway, thanks to the crafters group that's been very supportive. They've always made sure that the teachers are recognized for Valentine's Day. They've made little gifts. Little card donations would be wonderful. The other thing I really want to highlight is that last year we started this, and we're going to continue it again this year. We have some student teachers that are studying with us from Stevenson, and they're going to come and work with the preschoolers, and that's a wonderful relationship we want to foster. So, I think that's kudos to Nicole and the preschool staff that they wanted to come and be student teachers here. So, I think that's about it. Any other quick questions? And then I'll let Paul talk about money. Okay. Yes. It's about, what, 9 to 12?
9 to 12 is millions of kids here. I think
they start, some of them start as early as 8, right?
Yeah, we have like a preschool where they can enroll for parents that might have to go to work, and then there is an afternoon
Right.
program as well if parents need to.
Right.
Yeah. Not quite 6. What, 4? I think it's 4?
4, 4:30.
4:30. Yeah,
Yep.
I know. When we have talked about that, we've looked at it. The issue is that we would have to also obtain all kinds of licensing to become a daycare facility. We are licensed as a school now, and in order to become licensed as a daycare, that's a whole other ball of wax. So, yes.
So I think you said 7,200?
That's just one example, yeah.
Now that's from 9 to 12?
Right.
Yeah. But it's, 5 days a week, and again, when you break it down, we are not expensive. And we have worked really hard to, supplement that to make sure that it stays competitive. And again, we are fully licensed, our staff is fully licensed. Nicole has certification, I think, she's able to give like first aid and, that sort of thing, which not every preschool has. I mean, we are one of the most compliant preschools that I have ever see. I'm a speech therapist by background, and I provided services in many, many preschools throughout the county. And, this one is one of your top-notch preschools. Anything else? Okay. Take over.
I just want to say it's been my honor and privilege to have succeeded Lewis Hogan as treasurer, and it's been 3 years, and our bylaws say that I have to retire. So Eric Nightwine has agreed to be put up as the new treasurer, and just like Ned Worthington, I'll be around to help him, and he's going to get some help from Ned too. But the kindergarten enrollment has put us from the red to the black as far as finances go. We now have a surplus for next year. This year is going to be a deficit because there's only 2 kindergartners, and they get kind of glommed on with the pre-K and do stuff with them so that it's not just 2 kids doing stuff. It's also been my joy to be a substitute. I have graduated to the 3-year-olds. They once had me in the kindergartens, and that was too much. They are way too smart. The 2-year-olds are about my speed, but the 3-year-olds I know from last year, so some of them listen to me a little bit. And I'm getting them, most of them know the Apostles' Creed now. Yeah, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. So in Lewis's and Lucy Liddell's honor, we have started a scholarship fund, which you've probably heard about before, and it's in the bulletin. We need a couple more $1,000s to fund this year. So anybody that has a little money left over from taxes or whatever, we'd welcome that. And I'll take questions if anybody has any, or we'll move on to the next. But don't come read reports. Come look at the kids. That's the spirit of the school. Just walk through for 10 minutes, as Annette's going to do tomorrow. It's fabulous. It's like the concert yesterday. It lifts your spirits.
Okay. I asked Tom, I said, do I need to give a report? And he said, yeah, you should probably say something. So I just want to cover 2 things broadly. One is to recognize with gratitude some folks who have played key roles, and I do this with some hesitance because every time you mention somebody, there are folks that you don't mention, and we have so many people doing so much here and Tom does a very thorough job of recognizing them in his report, so I would second his request that you read it because he covers so many things so well. So with gratitude and appreciation for those folks I don't mention, I do want to call some folks out. And again, Tom in his sermon today, and in the announcements, mentioned our staff. And it's just been wonderful to work with them. Jane, Chris, and Kristen in the office worked so hard. And there was a lot of change in the office last year, what with Barb's retirement and some other personnel changes. There are a lot of folks who were new to their role. So they had a learning curve to deal with and new jobs to deal with, and they work really, really hard and do a fantastic job. And with Ricky back there and all of the Sexton crew, the buildings and grounds responsibilities are so vast, and he does such a great job of dealing with so many different things. But what really stands out is on a Friday night when the trees go down into the street, or on a Sunday afternoon when the wind pulls the electricity out of the rectory, there's Ricky on the spot to take care of it. I was here giving blood on a Saturday morning. There was Ricky coming to move the cones in the parking area and direct folks to where they were going. So our staff really deserves everyone's thanks. Next, and she's going to get up to speak in a minute, and I don't want to steal her thunder, but I've worked with a lot of folks on stewardship in my time here, even taking a turn or two at it myself, and a lot of dedicated, hardworking stewardship folks, but I have never seen anyone like Amy, and really never seen results like we've seen. And you can't just look at this year, but if you look at the last 3 years, depending on which number you use as the denominator, and I'm not real good at math, but I think our giving has increased anywhere from 25 to 33%. It's just been remarkable, the results she's had. And it's so important because it enables us to do so many things, from keeping this place up to paying our staff to the outreach that we engage in. And her efforts have been thoughtful. And again, credit to Tom for bringing people to this church, credit to everyone here who gives. But I got to give a lot of recognition and credit to Amy for running the show. It's been wonderful to watch her work. Our buildings and grounds, again, there are a lot of folks who are involved in buildings and grounds related efforts. I'm going to touch on a few more of them in a second, but I'm going to give a big handout to Tony Seville, who's not here, but who's sort of shepherding the whole thing. And it's a vast undertaking. It's a lot of work, from the inside to the outside to the cemetery to all of the buildings we have. It's a lot of work, and Tony attacks it with thoroughness and expertise. So if you see him, thank him for the time he puts in there. Also, they're not here today, I don't think, but Betsy Wilmerding and Margaret Green with the work that they do on outreach. It's what a lot of us are here for, to do good by others. And there are a lot of folks who are involved in the effort, but they lead it. And we talked with them earlier this week about the Owls First program, and Margaret allowed that she spends every waking moment thinking about this stuff. She lives it, breathes it, eats it, sleeps it. Their dedication is phenomenal, and we're lucky to have them leading the charge. So when you see Betsy and Margaret, be sure to thank them for all they do in their leadership role with our outreach efforts. Again, thanks to all the folks who are involved in the church school, from Kathy and Paul and Nicole. It's a good thing that they're doing. John Waller, this is my personal favorite, the choir, of course. John Waller it's been a seamless transition, and one of the things that I've noticed are that he's got very, very high standards. He knows what he wants. He expresses it. He squeezes it out of the choir. But he does it with so much joy and fun. It's just a delight. Thursday nights are my favorite night of the week, and Sunday mornings, being with John and the choir is just fantastic. And he found this accompanist, and I think she's got real promise. So she's gonna stick around with us for a while longer. It's a real joy. So I always appreciate John and Wanda and the whole choir. And then again, I don't think Jesse's here, but Jesse and Michelle, what they've done, taking over the Sunday school here, and Greg, Paul, and Amelia with the confirmation class work they do, and so many others. We've got Ned and Brian and the finance committee. Again, math's not my strong suit. I rely so strongly on them, and they do an expert job at shepherding our finances. And of course, Santa and the vestry are fun to work with, and they get a lot done. And then I got to recognize Tom, who is the straw that stirs the drink, the glue that holds us all together. Every Sunday and in between, he gives us weekly inspiration. His joy of baptisms and weddings and baptisms and special services and baptisms and celebrations of life. He's the real deal. We're so lucky to have him and Sue here. Real blessing. So the second thing I wanted to do, and again, with apologies to all those folks who I might not have mentioned, the second thing I want to do is just put on your radar some things that are on the horizon. These are the things that I'll confess maybe keep me up a little bit at night, but we've got about 5 or 6 major capital projects that we are moving forward with. And so 3 of them I'm going to put under the broad umbrella of the cemetery. So there's the overall, where we're trying to improve the appearance of the cemetery, make grass grow where there's just dirt, address erosion issues where we need to do some landscaping, thin out some trees. We've already started doing that so that the sunlight will hit the grass, do some aeration work. And Tony and Santa and Betsy Bacher and the Green Team are approaching this with a plan to make our buildings and grounds look better, and it's not inexpensive to do. Second, we're trying to take care of our monuments, the aging monuments in the old cemetery. And there was a point made that it's really the responsibility of the descendants of the folks who are buried there to keep those graves up. And we're not going to find a lot of those folks to get that done. And we feel like we have a moral obligation to keep up the appearance of the cemetery, and really a legal obligation to keep it safe. And if these monuments are unstable and they present a hazard, that's something we can't let happen. So we have engaged some folks who did some repairs when the tree fell down on the monuments. Roth, I believe it is, that Tuck found. They've done a lot of work at Greenmount Cemetery, and they're going to be addressing about 120 monuments in the cemetery this summer, and hopefully starting earlier so we can do some landscaping around some others. So the monument work. And then the cemetery unity team that Jesse was piloting and that Tuck and Francis Rockwell are now leading, their work continues. We are looking at designs to memorialize the North Cemetery space, and we expect that I want that work to be done by this time of year from now. And I think that's realistic and will likely happen. You can call it the assistant's house or the sexton's house or whatever you want to call it, but the old house that is down by the road, I don't think anyone's lived there since Nathan, yeah. And we've looked at it, and it presently is not habitable, but it's an asset. We want to make it habitable. We have a plan for doing it. The vestry's authorized some funds. Lewis Hogan and Tony Seville and Betsy Wilmerding are leading that, and it's going to be purposed toward housing Afghan refugees for at least 3 years once we get going, and that should happen this year as well, I think, right, Lewis? It's going to happen. So, and then, and while I'm recognizing Lewis, his tireless work over the last 2 years have given us legal access to public sewage through the old Rosewood Cemetery. The work to get that right was not easy, and it took a lot of persistence. Now we've got the right, and now the task is to connect us to the public sewer, and that's not going to be an inexpensive task either. So that's still in progress. And finally, unless there are more that I don't even want to know about, finally, our organ. And if you've been at church when the organ has pooped out mid-hymn, or at choir rehearsals when it makes strange noises that Wanda does not intend for it to make, or last Easter, or at a funeral, the good news is the instrument has been inspected by a couple of experts who say it's got many, many years of useful life, decades of useful life left in it, but it needs to be addressed. And it's much more complicated than I can discuss, but thankfully we have some dedicated musicians who are looking into it. Jennifer Piper, Ned Welburn, and Bob Brennan are leading the charge. We've got a contract to get this organ made as good as it can be, and the work will start after Easter of 2026. And we're also going to repurpose the choir space around it to allow better access to the organ parts. So that work's going to go on. It also is going to be expensive. So the endowment that our ancestors have left and the CapEx expenses that Andy referred to, they'll take care of a good piece of it, but they won't take care of all of it. We're going to look for grant money, particularly for Rosewood and for the North Cemetery project. I don't know how reliable that is in today's political climate, but we're going to look for it anyway. And then we're going to look for funds from people who are interested in supporting some of these efforts. But you'll be hearing more about these, so I just wanted to get them out there today, and that's really all I had. Questions? Good. Okay. Amy.
I will be very brief, 'cause I don't like doing this, but just give a little more information about this year's stewardship campaign. Can everybody hear me? Okay, good. So this year we ended up with $660,730 pledged. So to put that in perspective, 3 years ago we had $494,000 pledged. 2 years ago, $549,000 pledged. Last year, $624,000 pledged, and this year, $660,000. So I quick did the math. Maybe I'm right or wrong. I don't know. I think about 33% greater than 3 years ago. So thank you. Last year, the $624,000 was a new high for this church, so another new high for us. Yay. 3 years ago, the average pledge was $2,700. This year, the average pledge was $3,400. The average isn't a great indicator, but it is an indicator, so we're using it. There are more stats in the annual report. The pledge distribution chart is in there, and what's kind of cool, if you look 2 years ago, you could see the number of pledges from 1 to 1,000 is smaller, so people are moving further to the right in the chart. So. A couple of years ago, I challenged you. Our average pledge was below the diocesan average for churches our size, below the average. We are not below average. This is not a below average church community by any means that I can see. So I'm pretty competitive, and I think many of you are as well. So once the parochial report comes out, I'll get a look at it. I already met with the stewardship person at the diocese asking for it for last year's, but anyway. So when this year's comes out, we're going to look at it together and we'll see where we are. As you know, stewardship is what we do with what we have all the time. And we do our financial campaign in the fall, but stewardship is happening here all the time. Wonderful stewardship. Like everything in the bulletin insert, this book, everything is stewardship. The Christmas extravaganza feels like a stewardship celebration to me. I might have stepped on some toes right there, but none of this is possible without your good stewardship. So I want to thank each of you for every gift that you give to this church. Everything you do and everything you give is a gift to the church. A couple of years ago, a young woman started sitting behind me in church. I don't think she's here, a row or two behind me, and she sings so beautifully that it made me sing better. So after church, I would thank her. Thank you for singing so well, because then I sing better. Well, now she's taken that gift to the choir, sharing it with our parish. Hasn't done anything for my singing, but I thank her for sharing that gift with the parish. That is wonderful stewardship. With that example, please know that every gift is appreciated and so very important to our church. Gifts of your time, your abilities, and your money are essential to the life of this church. Stewardship is simply giving back to God as an expression of gratitude for the many gifts we have from God. In this church, you, and the way you are stewards of this church, puts you way above average. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
Leslie?
Good morning, everybody. So, quick update on the Green Team. So, the Green Team is one of the newer ministries for St. Thomas's. We're recognized, I think, a year or two years, as a formal ministry of St. Thomas's. And our mission is to foster parish and personal environmental stewardship and encourage environmental awareness through education and action. So I want to just give a couple examples, but you can read more in the report about what we've been up to over the last year, but a couple examples of education and action. So last year, we actually did a survey of the parish and got some feedback from folks on what they were interested in either learning about or doing more, seeing us do more of. And one of the items that we got feedback on was to do a tour of the recycling center, the Baltimore County Recycling Center. So with the help of Ann Kopp and Francis Horick, we did that this spring and learned all about where our trash goes and what happens to it and how we can better reduce our footprint and make sure that what we send to the recycling facility actually gets recycled and doesn't end up going to the landfill. And so then, as an example of action, Ricky led the effort to get a commingled recycling dumpster here in the fall. So now we can follow through on that and make sure, what we are using here that's single use and disposable, that more of it is getting recycled instead of going to the landfill. So thank you to Ricky and thank you to Francis and Ann for organizing those activities. Again, you can read some more about what we've done this past year. But I wanted to just point out that we did an updated site assessment with a couple organizations that have been very helpful. Interfaith Partners for the Chesapeake, IPC, and Blue Water Baltimore, BWB, have done an assessment of our stormwater runoff, and they provided, we've gone through 2 drafts now of a report with suggestions and findings on what we can do to better manage our stormwater runoff, and we will be sharing that soon with the parish. But a couple projects that we're going to be looking at would be a few improvements we can make in the parking areas where currently we just have grass, and we can convert those to rain gardens or other features that will better manage the stormwater and also, provide a little more beautification of those areas. Another item that we're looking at is improvements to the nature trail, which will help our preschoolers enjoy and engage with nature more and provide a little more of that education piece. So just a couple of things there to let you know what we've been doing and what will be coming up soon. So, and IPC and BWB are also great resources for finding, hopefully, some grant funding to help us with those efforts. So with that, I also wanted to just share that Donna Eden, if you wouldn't mind coming up here. All the way in the back there. So Donna Eden has been, as you know, my co-leader, but prior to that, our Green Team leader for many years. And Donna is stepping down as co-leader, but she will still be a Green Team member, thankfully. So I just wanted to recognize her and thank her. I'm going to give a little bit of history here, so bear with me. Some of it predates my involvement with St. Thomas's and the Green Team, but so Donna helped start our Green Team in 2019 after going on a toxic tour of Baltimore with Paul Corbin and others, where they learned how stormwater runoff from all across our watershed is polluting Baltimore Harbor and the Chesapeake Bay, and they decided to take action. So shortly after that, they helped to have Blue Water Baltimore do the first audit of our property and learn about how we could reduce our impact to the environment. And right after that, COVID hit. Despite that, with Donna's leadership, the Green Team carried on, and along with folks like Francis Horick and Tuck Washburn. They did some amazing projects, including planting our pollinator garden and working with the county to have 2.5 acres of trees planted. And then shortly after I started coming to St. Thomas's and I expressed my interest in the green team, Donna took me under her wing, and it has been such an honor working beside her and learning from her these past couple of years. And really, establishing the mission of the green team and helping to have it recognized formally as a ministry of our church. So as we move forward, I'm so grateful to have Donna continue with us as a green team member so she can continue to inspire all of us to be good stewards of this place that we hold so dear and all of the natural gifts that God has blessed us with. So thank you, Donna. And we have a little gift, and I thought it would be appropriate that we do not wrap it, but present it to you in a reusable canvas tote of the Chesapeake Bay. So enjoy.
So nice.
There's-
Thank you. And everything I have done has been through and for you, with the help of Paul and Tuck and all the people here who have been so good. Francis Horick, oh my goodness, I'm blanking on names, but you know who you are, and you have done a super job, and I think we are well positioned to take on the next one, which is figuring out how we're going to hook up the septic system in an appropriate way to take that burden off this property and have it be treated properly. So we will be working with Buildings and Grounds and Lewis and all the others to make this all work for the future. But it's been such an honor to serve you and to have such good people helping me out. So best wishes, and I need a new bag. This is great.
Okay, under our bylaws, one of the purposes of this meeting is to elect new vestry members. And so, again, pursuant to the bylaws, the vestry nominating committee met in early January, and we are happy to report that our top choices for vestry nomination both accepted. So, with that, Roz Corasaniti, please just stand so everyone can see you and get a look at you. Her biography is in the annual report and has been posted for the last few weeks. And then Frances Rockwell, who has served in this role before, I might add. So this is her second go-round on the vestry. So with that, all in favor of Roz? Say aye. Anyone opposed? Hearing none? We'll see. You're on. All in favor of Frances Rockwell? Aye. Anyone opposed? None. We'll see you at the next vestry meeting.
Okay.
And it's been somewhat announced, but to be official, Brian Light has been appointed and accepted, and with all sorts of wonderful history and experience bringing to us. But I just want to put that on the table. We don't need to vote on that. But welcome, Brian, and thank you, thank you.
And of course, as new people come on to the vestry, which we're very excited about, it also means that others, their term is coming to an end. So normally at this point, we would present gifts to the departing members, but Ned is not here and the gifts aren't here yet. So what I know, what we're going to do is at a Sunday, we can get all three of you there and we will celebrate you in church on Sunday. But thank you so much to Eric and to Tuck and to Ned. All three of them, first of all, very forthright at meetings. They really speak their minds and offer so many great insights and thoughts, and we don't always agree about everything, but certainly we always know where they stand and give us something to think about. And not only that, and I would say even more important, also doers. doers. So much work. The work that Tuck has done with the cemetery has just been phenomenal. The Mole Mausoleum, which was the bane of people's existence for decades, Tuck really drove that and got that finished for us, and it looks beautiful. It's a wonderful improvement, and other cemetery work that he's been doing and will continue. Eric, of course, taking on the wreath sale with Kristen, taking from of course, Beaumont. But you've seen him on Sundays, and the energy and the commitment and the clothing choices. I mean, all of it. A real doer, and of course that continues as he moves into this new role in the preschool. And of course, Ned, being treasurer, there's a lot of doing in being treasurer, and he has just done such a wonderful job, and no doubt we will find new tasks for him in the months and years ahead. So if you would please join me in thanking these three wonderful parishioners. And one other announcement that has to do with stewardship. So those of you who are kind of eagle-eyed and you look at our 2025 budget, you may see that starting mid-year, we have budgeted for a full-time assistant clergy person here at St. Thomas's, which I don't know how you feel about that, but I'm really excited about it. And we'll have more to say about that down the road. And most of you know that traditionally St. Thomas's has been a two-clergy church, partly because of its size, but also the responsibility, I would say, of helping to prepare new priests for their ministry. So we will have more to say when things are official about who that person is going to be. But I think it's really going to be a blessing for our community, just allowing us to do way more ministry. So thank you. Thank you for your generosity that has made that possible.
Is there any other new business? Hearing none, do we have a motion for adjournment? Second? All in favor? Aye. We're adjourned.